I work with alternative schools on enrollment. One school I helped was spending 5 digits on advertisement, meaning they were spending $20, $30, $40, $50,000 per month attempting to get more of the right families to their school. At the same time though, they were getting 4, 5, 6, 7% digits when it came to close rate, meaning that out of 100 families that they spoke to, only 4, 5, 6 were actually becoming paying customers. We didn't change their tuition, we didn't change their ads, and we achieved something. And that is that by changing the words that we use to describe this particular school, on the one hand, we got our close rate to, and let me show you in the presentation, we got our close rate to about 7% on average, or it was 7%, and we got it to 23%. On top of that, we actually went from spending 5 digits to spending about $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per month. So less expenditure, more of the right families. Tuition stayed the exact same. And if you're a school founder and families keep telling you it's too expensive, this video, which is filmed as a workshop, hence why I'm reading, is going to show you why that's almost never about price. And I'm going to give you the exact exercises I use with alternative schools like yours so you can fix this issue this week and start enrolling more of the right families. I want you to think about the last time a family told you it was too expensive. Maybe after a tour, an email, or maybe they just disappear after a bunch of emails that all of you were just exchanging with each other. And when that happened, you probably thought one of two things. Maybe you thought I should lower tuition, or I guess they cannot afford them, and both of them are reasonable, but both of them I found that are wrong. What if it's too expensive had nothing to do with the price, and what if it's telling you something you can fix this week? And you're gonna able to fix it this week through 3 exercises. These are the exact same exercises that I start when working with a school. And you will have actual language to change this after you finish this video. So grab something, this is a workshop, let's go through it. To set some of the context, we have to understand the mental math that families do. There you go. So the mental math that families are doing when they interact with you, whether they look into your website or they go into a parent tour or they see a pitch deck, is not related to spreadsheet math. Usually, they're trying to run a quick gut check and it goes something like this. How valuable does this feel is determined by 4 different variables. So the first variable is the outcome. What is it that I get, or that my child gets, or I get, or the family gets if I join the school? And that goes times how much I believe it actually is going to happen. So you have that first layer at the top of the equation. And on the lower side, you have, first of all, how long does these results take? Is it a month? Is it a year? Is it a decade? And how hard it is for me. What's the effort involved? What's the application process look like? The commute, the involvement level, how disruptive it might be for my family. And here's the key. When the top of the equation, which is the outcome times the belief, is strong, the price feels small. If someone says, and by someone I mean you, hey, this is just $15,000 per school year, and your child will spend a year being genuinely known by their teachers, challenged at a secondary level, and surrounded by kids who are curious instead of checked out, and they believe it, it's not gonna sound expensive. It might sound like a bargain for a lot of families who are facing terrible situations within the traditional school system. But when the top is big, meaning that the outcome and the level of belief is just not there, and you have language such as, we have a nurturing environment, then the bottom of the equation is gonna take over. And the bottom of the equation, even though it involves effort, is dominated by one thing, and that thing is price. The one thing that is not emotional, it's very tangible, and it's just right there. So too expensive, it's about money, and that's the main thing that I want you to understand. It's about a gap. The gap between what they could see and what you're actually asking them to pay for. And if you close the gap, regardless of anything else you do, the price conversation is gonna change completely. The first exercise that I'm gonna show to you, it's one exercise that you can do in just 2 minutes. And I want you to actually go ahead and do this. And you can pause the video after you hear the explanation. That's the whole intention behind it. You want to pull up your school's website, or think about the main sentence you use to describe your school, the thing on your homepage, your parent overview, your pitch deck. Now ask yourself, if I erase my school's name and replace it with another school's name, would this sentence still make sense? If it would make sense, if your description could belong to any school, then I'm pretty sure that it's empty. It's not wrong at all. It's just not doing any work when it comes to helping a prospect join your school. And let me show you real examples. Let's insert the name of a school. We believe every child deserves an education that nurtures the whole child. Could another school say this? Yes, hundreds, thousands do. Not only within Colombia and Mexico and the US and Arabia and Italy, literally anywhere in the world, most schools are using this type of vague language that is not actually communicating anything. Now let's compare this to a statement that uses words that are more specific and less vague. At school name, students spend 2 hours every morning in conversation. No lectures, no textbooks. Just 12 kids and a teacher working through a question together until someone changes their mind. Could another school say this? Almost certainly not. And this is a specific. This is yours. And this is what makes a parent stop and think, hey, that's different. That's worth trying out. So right now, pause the video if you need to and write down the main sentence you use to describe your school. Then ask, could any school say this? And if yes, we're going to fix it next. If you want to get an overview on whether you're doing this right or wrong, here on screen there are some examples of the kind of words that are not really communicating anything. These are words that may fill your website, your brochure, your tour, that are not really doing any work when it comes to helping a parent actually understand the value behind you. Nurturing environment, rigorous academics, whole child approach, community-based learning. Every one of these is probably true to your school, and I'm not saying they're lies, I'm just saying they're empty. When your Montessori school says nurturing environment, and the classical school says nurturing environment, and the public school says nurturing environment stops being something that actually differentiates you. And when you're not differentiated, again, people cannot see an image of the outcome and the belief in your potential help them achieve that outcome, and instead just go straight into price. If I have 20 options and all of them say nurture environment, why would I go with the one that is the most expensive or it's simply not the cheapest? So you already did the swap test, and now you're ready to go into the second exercise. I call this the Tuesday morning rewrite. And in this stage, we're going to turn the empty sentence that you just are trying to improve on, and you're going to turn it into a specific one. The method is embarrassingly simple, but it works. An empty sentence describes a category, but a specific sentence describes what actually happens. Here's the trick. Take your empty words, the ones you already found within your website, and ask, what does that look like on a regular Tuesday morning at my school? And let me show you a few examples. Before, you might have, we provide a rigorous academic program. And afterwards, you might say, our 8th graders read Plato and debate the meaning of justice. Not because they have to, but because they voted to. The second one, and you might go into the whole thing about the whole child, which is a very common trope within education nowadays. You might say, we educate the whole child, and that's probably what you had before. But afterwards, once you attempt to make it more specific, you might say, when a student comes in upset, we don't send them back to class. They sit with their mentor until they're ready. Because a child, or a kid who feels heard, learns better than a kid who's told to focus. Third example of a before and after. You might say, in the past, we have a strong sense of community. Afterwards, you might say, every Friday, the entire school, 55 students ages 6 to 14, ate lunch together at one long table. The 14-year-olds actually serve the 6-year-olds, and it's been happening for 4 years. You see the pattern? You took all those empty words you had, and now, because there was already a real story behind it, all you're doing is basically telling that story, making it as specific, making it more you, and the only you type of story that only you can tell. So now that you had some of the context, we're going to go into the actual second exercise, and it's a Tuesday morning rewrite. And you're just going to simply take the sentence that you already had, you're going to find the empty words behind it, and you're going to rewrite them, asking yourself, what does this word look like in real life at my school? Not in general terms, or in terms that if I changed the name of your school, it would be any other school capable of achieving this, but specifically, picture it as it happens within your school and write the next sentence. One tip that I'll give to you is that slightly awkward sentence that puts a picture in someone's head is 10 times more valuable than a polished sentence that says nothing. Now, once you have that, I want you to pause the video. I'm actually going to pause myself. And now that you're back, I want you to make sure to just be happy with it. This is probably the most valuable sentence that you'll have from this point forward in your entire website, because it's the one that's giving families a reason to believe your tuition is worth it, and it's not just something that they can compare apples to apples when it comes to any other school out there. And now that you found out a lot of the gaps in your messaging and now have a more specific version, we're going to work our way towards the third exercise. And before we do, we have to think or talk a little bit about what happens in the moment when we say the price. Families usually hear your price in one of 3 places: your website, an email, or a tour. In all 3, schools make the same mistake. They just say the number cold. The family hasn't built a clear enough picture, and then you just say, hey, it's $15,000 per year. Their brain does the only thing it's capable of doing, which is compared to zero. The zero that they're normally paying within public school, or the zero amounts of dollars that it takes to just not change anything. Just keep on going with the kind of life that they're having so far. And let me show you how the cold price drop usually sounds like when I hear it from school founders. It might sound something like this. Great question. Our tuition is $15,000 per year, and we offer financial aid. Want me to send you the info? And what happened? The family heard a number and an immediate signal that it's too high because you already offered for it for a discount, and you confirmed their worry before they could even think about the value. Now, how does a less cold price drop look like? Well, it might look as what I call the frame version. In the frame version, you might say, hey, that's a great question. Tuition is $15,000 per year. For that, your daughter would be in a group of 12 students, not 30. She would have a mentor she meets with every week who actually knows her, not just her grades, but what she's interested in, what she's working through, and what she's ready for next. And most families tell us the biggest change was their child stopped dreading Monday mornings. That's what this investment is for. This is the same price and completely different experiences when it comes to hearing them. You set a number honestly, you immediately attach a clear picture, you end up with the outcome people wanted, and you're using the word investment rather than cost. And of course, there are different sales methodologies and different ways of doing this for different audiences. There are some people within the school of just presenting the price and listening for objections. There are other people who are all about just creating a document in which they share all of the benefits and then end up with price. For this moment in particular, I care less about the method and more about the logic behind all of these methods, which is that you don't show a price before people know all that price is actually buying. If I just say $15,000 again, I'm just going to be compared to any of the other schools that not only sound exactly like me, but that happen to have prices similar to mine. If I'm able to communicate prior to a sales call or in a website or any kind of document what comes with the price, families now know that this is just not any tuition, but have a clear view of everything they're getting. Now here's the third exercise that I want you to do. For the third exercise, and this is the most valuable one for a lot of the alternative schools that I work with, you want to write a 3 to 4 sentence version of how you'll present your tuition from now on. Now, these are not necessarily exact words, nor the exact location in which you will do it, but this is the essence of what you will say in any type of environment and place where your tuition shows up. So the first part of the sentence, let's say, this is a 4-sentence paragraph. The first one is, I want you to name the outcome. What does this investment buy in terms of the child's experience or of the parent's experience? I want you to add 1 or 2 specific details. What does your school look like in a Tuesday morning that no other school looks like? This is the result of your exercise number 2. Number 3, I want you to state your price clearly. No hedging, optionally breaking it down by day or month, depending on the price structure of what you offer. Don't talk about, the monthly price of your tuition if you don't offer monthly payment plans. But if you do, you might test how you communicate the exact same price, on top of course, being more clear about it. Thirdly, I want you to add 1 sentence of social proof. Most families tell us, and just let another parent close the deal for you. And again, there are infinite ways in which you can optimize all of what I'm saying so far. But the most important thing is that, in essence, the very least that you should have to stop hearing objections related to price, it's an offer that clearly communicates what sets you apart from people. Now to finish off, I'm going to give you some real math behind why you may or may not care about applying these 3 steps. Say your tuition is $15,000. The average family stays 4 years. That's $60,000 per family over time. Of course, this is a very optimistic view, but it just helps to see the extent to which this could be helpful for you. So it's $15,000 a year, that's tuition, at $60,000 over time. If you enroll 10 new families a year, each enrollment cycle exceeds $100,000 in future revenue. Let me actually change slides so you can see this. Of course, we see the word additional being misspelled. Of course, we needed that. But anyway, I want to ask you, how many families showed interest toward or didn't enroll? For most alternative schools, the answer is somewhere between a few and more than we would like to admit. If even 2 of these families would have enrolled with a clearer message, just 2, that's $120,000 in lost revenue. And this is not because tuition was wrong, but because the story wasn't clear enough for the price to make sense. Now flip it. Use the price script that you just wrote. If it helps enroll 1 additional family per year, that's worth $60,000 over 4 years. 1 family, 1 clearer sentence. At the earlier portion of the video, I told you about this one school that was getting 4%, 5%, 6% close rates. And through all this process, they were able to get to 20, 23, 25, 27% close rates. And that didn't change because we changed the price. It happened because we changed the words that we used prior to talking about price. And all of this happened precisely because we followed these 3 steps that I just unveiled to you. Now let's wrap up. And the wrap up is actually more important than you think, so stay tuned to listen to it. You did 3 things today. You found the empty words in how you describe your school. You rewrote them, specific picture-making language, and you wrote a price script that leads with the outcome, grounds it in details, and let your values speak. If you actually did these exercises, you have something that most schools don't. You have the words that make families feel something. Not just a hunch or a gut reaction, but a something, a confidence, a trust that what you're saying, all that dream that you're painting for them, for their family, is actually capable of being achieved. And a clearer picture is precisely what's going to take you from all these conversations in which you're not closing anyone into those in which now people are actually asking you. I'm not going to say begging you, but really asking you, hey, can I join now? I really don't want to join the next cohort or the next semester. I really want my child to be part of your environment right now. All you have to do is put this to work. Update your website, practice the script before your next parent tour, and watch what happens to the too expensive objection. If this was helpful, please subscribe. I make videos for alternative school founders who are doing remarkable work and deserve to be found, but yet sometimes they struggle attracting some of those right families. And if you want help doing this for your school specifically, I have both free and paid resources on the description for you.